Hey guys, I'm Greg Spiro, and this is my weekly piano jazz masterclass. I recently got a question on Weebid that says, make a weekly piano video about playing with good feel and how to develop this aspect of playing. Now on Weebid you can make your request for what video you want me to do next, and then you can crowdfund that with other people who also want to see that video. So this one's up to $50. I'm going to go ahead and answer it. Playing with good feel is one of the most overlooked and most challenging aspects of piano for intermediate piano players. There are a lot of intermediate piano players that have tons of chops. They can play stuff like that, and they can't actually just play that's good feel, and it's easy to hear when a pianist has great feel, but it's not easy to bring your playing up to par with that. And the reason is because there's a whole stack of things that result in that good feel that you get when you listen to somebody like Jimmy Smith or Oscar Peterson or Herbie Hancock in their very different ways of feel, but all really amazing feel. So we're going to talk about the time stack. Feel is really time. It's your sense of time, how you play with time, pushing and pulling on it, consistency, precision. So I've manufactured this into a sort of pyramid that I call the time stack. The bottom and most this will take the most work and the most consistent practice is time consistency. That's basically it means you can keep time for a long period of time without losing the beat, without speeding up or slowing down or jittering back and forth. You want a consistent tempo. Now, to do that, I use a couple tools. So I use this Pro Metronome app. Right? So now I'm going to take out some of the beats. Right? Now I'm going to take out more of the beats. You want to close your eyes when you're doing it, but you get the point. You don't want to be looking at the metronome and using your visual sense. You want to be using that internal metronome to be getting all those beats, and then slow it down. So do that exercise at 80 or 90 BPM, and then slow it down to 40. It gets a lot harder at 40. Metronomics. There's an app called Metronomics where you can have this subdivide things. And then you can have it randomly play less of certain numbers. So do scales with that. I can do a whole video on that. And then there's another thing called haptic. So I just found this one, and I use it pretty consistently now in my practice. You need an Apple Watch for it. But this is one that it'll pulse on your arm, but it won't make any noise. And I use this because here I can show you like that. You can kind of see what's going on. It's like pulsing on your phone and on your arm at the same time. So you can use your visual sense if you want to, but the ideal is to close your eyes, do scales, and do exercises, and just like sometimes play standards to this, while having only the time be pulsed on your arm, because you forget to notice it as you keep going, and then it's really easy to rush and really easy to drag, especially if you have the internal propensity to rush or drag. So the goal is to keep this on and have this sort of make you realize when you're rushing and dragging, but in a much more subtle way than if you have audio projected at you. It's really a lot harder to fall back on this, especially if you have your eyes closed and you're not looking at the feedback on the screen. Here's another exercise for for the time stack that falls into the second layer up. Now this is precision. Okay. We're going to go back to our metronome here. All right, so check this out. You want to do your scales, but you want to do them on the offbeats. So imagine there are 16th notes here. 3 and 4. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So normally you'd do this, right? Etc. But now what you want to do is do it on the beat right before, the 16th note right before the beat, or the 16th note right after the beat. So instead of counting the 1 here, you're counting the 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Etc. You can put that also on the beat right after, or the beat right before, the 16th note right before or right after the beat. Then there's flexibility. Flexibility is really, really elusive because it can be misconstrued as imprecise, but it's not. If you're looking at a MIDI map, for example, of like, you're playing notes on the on each of the downbeats, like let's just say you're playing quarter notes. But if you play it perfectly quantized, then you move it on the grid a little bit to the right. So like a little bit late, but the distance between your lateness, your late note and the quarter note is exactly the same every time. That's a flexible beat. So you can flex and be a little bit behind the beat, but you want to be the same amount behind the beat every time. You can use a DAW, Ableton, Logic, whatever you record in, and play to the grid, to a click, and watch where you are in relation to the one. And when you can get it super precise visually, then start to pull back and try to do it a little bit after the beat, but the exact same amount after the beat. It's very challenging, but once you can do that, you can play with a laid-back feel, essentially. Once you have consistency as the base foundation, precision above that, and flexibility above that, we get into the pinnacle of what makes feel really great, which is subtlety. There are 3 exercises that I would do to ingrain subtlety in your playing. One is play standards using Drumgenius. Drumgenius has amazing. It's kind of funny how we have all these apps now to do all these things, but they're actually really helpful. So yeah, use Drumgenius. Get some of your favorite drum beats or drummers from their little loops in there, and play along with them, and actually get into it. So that's where it's super important to play for fun in that context. So, I'll do standards that I like to play. Sometimes lay out a bass line for yourself and play along to that with the tune that you like. So then the next thing is listening. I had this time when I was in my early 20s, and I was really focusing on feel at that point, and I had a gig with Frank Russell at the Checkerboard Lounge in Chicago on the South Side, and I knew that my feel wasn't up to par for what I needed to be doing. It was really heavy swinging stuff. I needed to be really, really spot on in terms of feel. That's the primary thing that people would notice at that gig. So 2 weeks before the gig, I started listening to Jimmy Smith's The Sermon every single day, all day. That's all I listened to from morning to night. While I was doing work, while I was doing whatever I was doing, I would listen to The Sermon. It's a 20-minute piece that has some legends on it, over and over and over and over again. And by the time I got to the gig, I was actually quoting Jimmy Smith and playing with his feel, because it was so ingrained in my psyche, in my listening, and I blew them away. I had the house standing up. It was amazing. So listen to Jimmy Smith over and over again if you want. Listen to a bunch of Oscar Peterson, Herbie Hancock, the guys with legendary feel, Wynton Kelly, and Miles. Always go back to Miles. His feel is always amazing. And then finally, in that the tip to get subtlety, play along to some tracks that you love. I consistently play along to Kind of Blue. It's one of my favorite records. Sometimes in the morning when I'm doing my practice session, if I want to just kind of chill out for a little bit, I'll put on the whole record and I'll just play through it and improvise along. I'll quote some of the lines, play along with some ones that I remember, play my own solos sometimes, play some melodies. So That's the time stack. There's a lot. I could do a whole course on this. In fact, somebody's trying to get me to do a 6-week course on Weebid right now. You can suggest courses. You can suggest whatever you want on Weebid, and hope you enjoy. It's the time stack. Just to review: consistency, precision, flexibility, and subtlety. Once you get all of those, then you will be ready to rock in the most groovy of jazz contexts. All right, thanks, guys. Catch you later. Peace.